With the sudden emergence of DeepSeek, the new AI that shocked the world with its cheapness and reliability, other AI tools are struggling to keep up. Today, it's time to find out if ChatGPT can prove itself again by going head-to-head with DeepSeek in 3 increasingly difficult challenges before the final challenge, to write a whole story from scratch. Who will come out on top in this battle of wits, creativity, and raw computational power? Let's find out. Here are the rules. For each of the 3 challenges, each AI will receive exactly the same prompt and be given 1 chance to show us their best work. We're using only their default models to keep things fair, and no further support or instructions will be given. Without further ado, it's time for the first challenge. Starting it off simple, each AI must think of 5 original story ideas based on the genre of horror. Off they go. Okay, nice. Neither AI spent too long on this one, and we have a total of 10 well-explained ideas between them. On ChatGPT's side we have the shattered reflection, simply a mirror which starts acting by itself, the deepest hunger, in which human sacrifices are being made to the sea in return for seafood, the midnight choir, a mother who hears her dead son singing, screams of the soil, a plant that thrives on human emotion that comes alive, and dead air, a radio DJ who receives creepy calls from a listener. Wow! Some interesting ideas there. A couple of particularly gory ones too. Overall, though, they are all original and I can see a good story somewhere in at least 4 out of those. By the way, if anything in this video inspires you, write something and send it in to us at tomrules71@gmail.com, and we'll feature you in an upcoming video. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, over to DeepSeek. We have the whispering walls, a house whose walls whisper secrets of the past, the hollow children, children disappearing and coming back with supernatural abilities, the last broadcast, a group of explorers discover an abandoned radio station, the skin thief, in which gruesome murders leave villagers' flesh stolen by a legendary monster, and the silent carnival, about a traveling carnival with haunted attractions. Nice. We have a cool one, a disturbing one, a creepy one, a gruesome one, and a haunted one. Again, some very creative, original ideas. Surprisingly, both ChatGPT and DeepSeek had one idea that focused on a radio station. Now, we have to choose which AI wins the first challenge. Personally, I choose ChatGPT for its more engaging, usable ideas in a story. Perhaps DeepSeek's were slightly wilder than I would have liked. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. We're one step closer to the final challenge, in which ChatGPT and DeepSeek each write a full story for us. But now, it's time for the next challenge. In Challenge 2, each AI must finish a story starter in 3 sentences or less. Here is the story starter. A detective wakes up in a locked room with no memory of how they got there. Not much to go on, is it? Well, here's what ChatGPT came back with.
As the detective scans the dimly lit room, they notice a blood-stained note on the floor with their own handwriting. Find the killer before they find you. A security monitor flickers to life, showing live footage of multiple rooms, each containing a different version of themselves, all equally confused. A distorted voice crackles over a hidden speaker. Only one of you gets to leave, solve the case, or become the next victim. Cleverly, ChatGPT used some very long sentences to fit it all in. This definitely leaves it on a cliffhanger, but it's almost like it's just expanding on the prompt. Overall, though, this definitely points the story in a unique direction. Now time for DeepSeek's continuation of this story.
A detective wakes up in a locked room with no memory of how they got there, only to find cryptic clues scattered around that seem to point to their own past crimes. As they piece together the mystery, they realize the room is a trap set by a vengeful victim they once failed to save. With time running out, the detective must confront their guilt and decide whether to atone or escape. But the room has other plans.
Interesting. Of course, 3 sentences was not enough to make a full story. I do think that DeepSeek expanded on the prompt in a more interesting way, revealing more about the story. While ChatGPT has set the stage for a longer story, DeepSeek takes this one in terms of how much it rounded off the story starter as asked, meaning DeepSeek takes the win for me here. Challenge 2 is done, and it's on to the last challenge before each AI writes a full story. But this one, we're really taking it up a notch. Someone somewhere must once have said, a story is only as good as its characters. That's why for this challenge each AI must write a full, emotive scene in which two characters have an intense conversation. This will put each AI's character development skills to the test. This should be exciting. Okay, both AI seem to have written a good amount here. Nice. To spice this one up, I'm going to show you each story but not reveal which one is which. Decide for yourself and then, afterwards, I'll tell you which was which. Ready? Here's the first one.
The dim glow of the street lamp flickered as the older version of Alex stepped out of the shadows, their face weathered with years of regret. The younger Alex, barely out of high school, froze mid-step, their backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes wide with disbelief. "What the? Who are you?" they stammered, taking a cautious step back. "Wait," the older Alex said, raising a hand, their voice trembling with urgency. "I know this sounds insane, but I'm you, from the future. And I need you to listen to me. Don't take the job at Nextech. It's not the dream you think it is." Younger Alex scoffed, shaking their head. "Yeah, right. Time travel? Nice try. Who put you up to this? Jake? This is some kind of prank, isn't it?" The older Alex stepped closer, their eyes pleading. "I know you're scared of failing, of not living up to everyone's expectations. But Nextech will cost you everything. Your relationships, your health, your dreams. You'll wake up one day and realize you've spent 20 years building someone else's future, not yours." The younger Alex hesitated, their bravado faltering. "How do I know you're not lying?" The older Alex reached into their coat and pulled out a worn photograph, a picture of the two of them, taken on their 18th birthday, with a message scrawled on the back in their own handwriting. "Don't let fear decide for you." The younger Alex stared at the photo, their breath catching. This doesn't make sense." "It doesn't have to," the older Alex said softly. "Just trust me. Take the art internship instead. It's risky, and it won't pay much, but it's what you're meant to do. Don't make the same mistake I did." For a moment, the younger Alex looked torn, their future hanging in the balance. Then, slowly, they nodded. "Okay, I'll think about it." The older Alex smiled, a bittersweet ache in their chest. "That's all I can ask." And with that, they vanished into the night, leaving their younger self standing alone under the flickering light, the weight of the future heavy on their shoulders.
The narrator really sold us the story on that one. Bravo 11 Labs for your amazing AI voices. Want to check them out yourself? Use try.11labs.io/rulesproductions to check it out. We'll leave the link below, too. Well then, on to the next one.
Rain drizzled onto the cracked pavement as the younger version of Alex fumbled with their cigarette, trying to light it with shaking hands. They were barely 20, angry at the world, and standing at the edge of a choice they couldn't take back. "You shouldn't do it," came a voice from the shadows. Alex spun around, eyes narrowing at the hooded figure stepping forward. Something about the stranger's stance, the way they held themselves, felt eerily familiar. Then the streetlight caught their face, and Alex staggered back. "You..." "Yeah, me." The older Alex pulled back their hood, revealing a face carved with regret. "I know what you're about to do. Walk into that bar, take the deal, and ruin your life. You're crazy." Young Alex scoffed, but their voice wavered. Older Alex took a step closer. "I lost everything. Friends, family, years of my life. All because I thought I was invincible. I came back to stop you from making the same mistake." Young Alex hesitated, looking toward the neon-lit bar at the end of the alley. The deal was supposed to change everything, give them a way out of this dead-end life. But now, doubt gnawed at them. "You expect me to just trust you?" Older Alex exhaled, their eyes tired. "Trust yourself. Just this once. turn around and walk away. A long pause. Then, with a deep breath, young Alex crushed the cigarette under their boot and stepped back into the darkness. Older Alex let out a shaky sigh, watching their past disappear, hoping, praying that the future had just changed.
That was certainly intense. Ready to find out which one's which? Well, the first one was actually DeepSeek. I'm impressed, though the dialogue feels somewhat unrealistic, as though in a cartoon. On the other hand, ChatGPT sent us flying with the emotive environment, realistic reactions and dialogue, and deliciously dramatic. For me, this one goes to ChatGPT. Well, it's finally time for the final challenge. Each AI gets one prompt and one attempt to prove itself as the better storyteller. Will DeepSeek show us its convenience comes at no cost? Or will ChatGPT hold its place as the best AI? It's time to find out in the final challenge. Let's take a look at the prompt. Write a full short story based on the following prompt. In a world where memories can be sold and traded, a struggling memory painter meets a black market memory dealer, dragging him into a world of crime and lies with only one way out. With each AI ready to go, it's time to press send. Here we go. And just like that, they're ready. What would take a human weeks has been done twice in just seconds. But is this a worthy replacement? It's time to find out. Take it away, ChatGPT.
Jonas Barlow's hands trembled as he dipped his brush into the swirling blues of memory ink. The canvas before him flickered with fragments of someone else's past, a golden sunset over an unfamiliar ocean, a woman's laughter echoing in the salt air. He didn't know whose memory it was. He didn't ask. Being a memory painter wasn't as glamorous as it once had been. In the old days, the wealthy commissioned artists like him to immortalize their happiest recollections in oil and pigment. Now, people didn't want memories framed. They wanted them extracted, copied, sold. The market had moved to direct transfers, raw recollections uploaded and implanted for the right price. Jonas was a relic in a world that had moved on. That's why he was desperate when he met her. She called herself Vesper, and she wore secrets like a second skin. He first saw her watching him from across the smoky interior of a dive bar where he nursed a drink he couldn't afford. When she finally slid into the seat across from him, she didn't bother with introductions. "You're wasting your talent, Barlow," she said, tapping a cigarette against the table. "Selling paintings to the sentimental when you could be making real money." He eyed her warily. "I paint memories, not steal them." Vesper smirked. "That's the problem, isn't it?" She placed a small silver device on the table, a memory siphon, the kind only found on the black market. With one press of a button, it could extract a moment, erase it from a person's mind, and store it like currency. Illegal, dangerous, and exactly what Jonas needed. "I don't do that kind of work," he said. "You do now," she replied. Jonas told himself it was only temporary. One job, enough money to pay off his debts, to keep his studio. But Vesper had other plans. His first assignment was simple: repaint a stolen memory, altering details to suit the buyer. A man wanted to remember his wife's love, even though she had never loved him. Another wanted to erase the night he'd killed someone, replacing it with the memory of an alibi. Jonas told himself he wasn't hurting anyone, he was just revising. Then came the night everything changed. Vesper handed him a drive containing a memory she claimed was worth a fortune. "Paint this exactly as it is," she instructed, her voice unusually sharp. "No edits, no questions." Jonas plugged in the drive. The moment flooded into his mind. An alleyway, a sharp glint of a knife, a man collapsing to the ground, blood pooling on concrete. Murder. He staggered back, breath coming in short gasps. This is a crime scene." Vesper didn't flinch. "And someone very powerful wants to forget it ever happened." Jonas felt sick. "This isn't art. This is evidence." "It's survival," she said simply. Jonas knew then that there was no one last job. There never had been. Vesper had pulled him in deep, and the only way out was through. For the first time in his life, Jonas didn't paint what he was told. Instead, he made a copy, a perfect recreation of the murder, brushstroke for brushstroke. He kept the original hidden and handed Vesper a falsified version, one that painted her buyer as innocent. Then, before she could realize the deception, he ran. He didn't stop until he reached the authorities, memory drive in hand. It was enough to bring down the entire operation. Vesper, her clients, everyone who had profited from stolen truths. But Jonas paid a price. To stay safe, he had to erase himself. The memory of his own identity, his past, his art, gone. He became a ghost, a blank slate. No more paintings, no more stolen memories, just an empty canvas, waiting to be filled. And in the end, maybe that was its own kind of freedom.
Wow! Amazing exposition, and it all ended with a sacrifice for justice. If I may say, ChatGPT cooked with that last sentence. But can DeepSeek beat it? Let's see.
In a world where memories could be extracted, bottled, and sold, Ilara was a memory painter, a rare artist who could weave fragments of recollections into vivid, emotional masterpieces. But her craft was a dying art, overshadowed by the cheap thrills of raw, unedited memories traded on the black market. Struggling to make ends meet, she spent her days in a cramped studio, painting other people's joys and sorrows, while her own life felt like a fading, colorless blur. One evening, as she packed up her brushes, a man slipped into her studio. He was tall, with sharp features and a coat that seemed to swallow the light. "Ilara Voss," he said, his voice smooth but edged with danger. "I've heard you're the best memory painter in the city. I have a proposition for you." Ilara eyed him warily. "I don't work with dealers." The man smirked, pulling a small vial from his pocket. Inside swirled a memory, deep crimson and pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is no ordinary memory. It's a king's ransom, raw, unfiltered, and illegal. But it's incomplete. I need you to paint it, to make it whole. And when you do, we'll both be rich." Ilara hesitated. The black market was a dangerous game, and she'd seen what happened to those who got involved. But the memory in the vial called to her, its colors unlike anything she'd ever seen. Against her better judgment, she agreed. The work was intoxicating. The memory was a kaleidoscope of emotions: love, betrayal, power, and despair. As Ilara painted, she felt herself drawn into its world, a labyrinth of secrets and lies. But the deeper she went, the more she realized the memory wasn't just illegal. It was stolen, and its owner, a ruthless crime lord named Dax Vera, would stop at nothing to get it back. When the painting was finished, the dealer returned, his eyes gleaming with greed. "It's perfect," he said, handing her a bag of credits. "But there's one more thing. Dax knows you have it. He's coming for you." Ilara's heart sank. "You set me up." The dealer shrugged. "Survival of the fittest. But if you want to live, you'll give me the painting and disappear." Ilara clenched her fists. She was no criminal, but she wasn't a fool either. She had one card left to play. "The painting's useless without the key memory," she said, holding up a small glowing shard. "And I've hidden it where you'll never find it." The dealer's smirk faded. "You're bluffing. Try me." For a moment, they stood in silence, the tension thick enough to cut. Then the dealer cursed and stormed out, leaving Ilara alone with the painting. She knew she couldn't keep it. Dax would hunt her to the ends of the earth, but she also couldn't let it fall into the wrong hands. That night, Ilara did the unthinkable. She uploaded the memory to the public network, releasing it for the world to see. Within hours, it went viral, exposing Dax's crimes and sparking a citywide uprising. The dealer vanished, Dax was arrested, and Ilara became a legend, a memory painter who had outsmarted the underworld. But as she stood in her studio, staring at the empty canvas, she couldn't shake the feeling that her own memories were slipping away, traded for a moment of glory. In a world where memories were currency, she had paid the ultimate price, and yet, for the first time in years, she felt alive.
Phew. Again, an amazing story. By the way, Making the 3D visuals and literally hundreds of graphical elements for this video took ages, so please subscribe to help us out. In a video all about AI, I see it only fitting that in our search for the final winner, we turn to, drumroll please, another AI. This is Claude. Claude specializes in data analysis, so it should be a good candidate for this job. We're going to give it both stories, leaving them anonymous. Let's see what it has to say. Well, this is quite detailed, which is great, but if I'm ever going to wrap up this video, I'll have to summarize it. Claude says, The Last Stroke is a more tightly constructed and emotionally resonant story, and in my assessment, it's the stronger of the two. It gives reasons such as a more nuanced character development, excellent pacing, more polished details, and a more fitting ending. Claude also gave us some weaknesses, for example a lack of development on the character Vesper, the choice of pace moves quickly through Jonah's corruption, and some of the world building could have been explored in more detail. On the other hand, Claude says, the memory painter has interesting elements but doesn't quite achieve the same impact. Claude says the story's strengths are its better world building, a more realistic choice of actions by the protagonist, larger stakes, and an interesting social commentary on memories being valued as currency. However, the plot relies more heavily on general characters used in the genre, the resolution feels less earned, there is less emotional resonance, character motivations feel less developed, and the ending isn't nearly as fitting as The Last Stroke. Therefore, Claude has decided that The Last Stroke is the superior story because it achieves greater emotional resonance through tighter narrative construction, more nuanced character development, and a thematically satisfying ending that naturally emerges from its core themes about memory and identity. ChatGPT wins. Today, DeepSeek showed us that it was not to be mistaken for lesser than ChatGPT and made some very powerful contributions to this competition. However, it's no match for ChatGPT, whose experience and higher training quality must have given it the upper hand, as it gave much more sensitive and thoughtful responses today. Thanks for watching. If you have any ideas for a rematch that you'd like to see our AIs go head-to-head in, let us know. Of course, drop us your thoughts on who won for you in the comments, and please do like and subscribe to see more of this type of content. That's all for today, then. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.